Continue meeting is being recorded. Continue. Okay.
Good afternoon, Dr. Harrington. You're muted. Can you unmute your audio, please?
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi. How's everybody?
Hey,
Doing
Dr. Harrington.
great.
How are you?
I'm still here.
Good.
That's the main thing. I am still here.
Mhm.
And that's significant for me.
So graduation is Thursday?
Which graduation? The
29th is graduation at the university, right?
I don't know, unless it's the veterinary medicine's graduation. I don't know.
There's one, the veterinary medicine one is over here, and then I think the other two are over there. So yeah,
Well, in
yours?
Montgomery, the other two are in Montgomery.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
But I
For
don't know.
what? For this time only.
I say the same thing.
Nope, that's what they say.
Yeah.
So
I think,
they understand.
yeah, we'll see.
Hey, good evening, good folks.
Hi,
Good
Jerry.
evening. Good evening. Hey.
How are you?
Doing great.
Awesome.
Awesome. Awesome.
All
Oh,
right.
that's Miss Angel. I couldn't think who Miss Angel Walker. Well,
She's a bright star. We swooped up from Phoenix City, Columbus, and
yeah.
got her to come over here and run Macon Russell Community Action. And
Okay. Now I know who you are.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know me?
No, ma'am, but I'm gonna get to know you.
You gonna get to know me, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
That won't take long, baby.
hey, Charlotte. If I could get everybody as you come in, and I'll repeat this, to sign in chat room. So if you'll go to the chat room little
Okay.
icon on your computer and then type below everyone, and you can type in your name. So if you would use that as the sign in.
Okay.
And George, you just came on, but if you look at the little chat room thing at the bottom of your screen, just tap on it and then type in your name. Learn something new every day.
Every day, every minute almost.
And Bill told me to tell you hello, Tiffany.
Who said that?
Bill.
Tiffany.
Bill.
He said
Some
from
minute.
Larry's Breakfasts.
Oh! So tell him I said hello.
I will. Charlie, how are you doing?
You're on mute. Can't hear you.
Fantastic. How's everybody doing?
We're
Doing
doing
great.
good.
Doing great. Hey, Charlie.
Great.
Great. It's a great day.
Oh, great day to be alive. And I hope somebody used to come on the radio. It's a great day to be alive. And I hope it is even more beautiful wherever you are. Every morning, that was his call. I can't think of his name. That was before television. I say you all know it.
And then Jimmy Johnson did something like that.
That was on radio when we didn't have television.
And Jimmy
And the radio was run by battery because we didn't have electricity.
Well, we're our speaker today and our trainer today is one of only 5 master Roma trainers in the state of Alabama, and I think there's only another 5 or so in a broader span than that. But Angel Walker came to work with the Macon Russell Community Action Agency about 9 months ago. It was almost
September. Mhm.
We're working on it. We're working hard on a year, but she has been able to elevate our monies coming in to Macon Russell Community Action in response to the COVID crisis. And so we have more money for folks that have a hard time paying their rent or about to be kicked out of the house. She helps get them in school if she can, in housing if she can. And she has a staff that are all well trained, and I'm so happy to have the state agencies not calling me on a regular basis. I called up ADECA the other day and I told them what a joy it was to have them not calling me. And we all kind of read the accolades of our executive director, Angel Walker. And Angel, if you would go ahead, and she is a new member of the chamber, the rising young star in the chamber. So we want to try to recognize you, Angel, and thank you for helping us today.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to share my screen at this time. Just give me 2 seconds. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Good evening. Once again, I'm Angel Walker, and I'm the Executive Director of Macon Russell Community Action Agency, and I'm also the owner and CEO of Stars Consulting, LLC. I have the pleasure of conducting a presentation today around the history of the chamber, parliamentary procedure, and some video conferencing etiquette. So I want to respect everyone's time because, you know, it is late in the afternoon, so I want to respect everyone's time. So let's dive right in with the mission of the chamber. Okay, so this is the mission of the Tuskegee Area Chamber of Commerce, and it states the Tuskegee Area Chamber of Commerce serves businesses throughout Macon County. We support and instigate collaborations, cultivate the atmosphere for networking, and perform as a resource for chamber members and the larger community. We work to support local businesses, contribute to economic stability, enhance the quality of life for our neighbors, and promote the Tuskegee area as a tourist destination. We operate with a decentralized committee structure administered by chamber members. Individuals are encouraged to join the committee that best fits their interests and skills. So as this is the mission of our chamber, board members, staff, and our stakeholders should be able to recite this particular mission. The board not only reviews and updates when necessary the mission, but it also regularly uses the mission to guide its actions and to fulfill its responsibilities. So the following condensed history was based on memories of individuals involved with the chamber over the years. We are actually in the process of gathering more information so we can come with a comprehensive history of the chamber. So in the early 1970s, there was no communication among business owners. Many were first generation business owners who may have seen each other in church, but did not engage in communications about business. The need to collaborate grew out of the second boycott in the 1960s, which was led by George Clay, who was head of both the NAACP and the Tuskegee Civic Association. Additionally, business leaders felt that a chamber would be a good way for networking and looking out for the collective best interests of the residents of Macon County. They also believed that a chamber would go to bat for businesses to address issues like lowering sales taxes, law enforcement, garbage collection, and utility rates. So this picture collage features some of the presidents of the Tuskegee Area Chamber of Commerce, starting with Charles Cliff Johnson, who was the first president and also the first Black Cadillac agency dealer, to our current president, which is Mr. Roland Vaughn. So while George Clay was the president in the 1980s, the chamber developed an initiative with the theme Shop Tuskegee First, which promoted supporting local businesses. And back then, there were many retailers in our community. In 1998, President Charlie Hardy initiated a quality of life survey to analyze economic trends in the community and also to jumpstart potential tourism growth. Mr. Hardy was a globalist. And between 2010 and 2014, then Chamber President Deborah Biggers commissioned an upgrade to the Chamber's website. During her tenure, the Chamber initiated as they guided their way through college. She also asked some of the businesses to decorate their storefronts in support of today's homecoming, depicting scenes in Macon County. Between 2020, then Chamber President Loretta Alexander expanded the Chamber's mission by offering the Chamber monthly membership meetings as a platform for stakeholders in the community to speak about pressing issues. She shared the authority for decision-making within the community by instituting a committee structure, with each committee headed by a Chamber member with expertise related to his or her committee's purpose. President Alexander approved online Chamber membership payments, allowing people to renew or join the Chamber using their smartphones and computers. She also initiated special projects, including Tuskegee University Day, which was done in conjunction with the historic inauguration of the first woman to serve as president of Tuskegee University, Dr. Lily McNair. Under her administration, a financial barrier for college students to join the Chamber was removed by establishing a $5 membership fee for anyone attending Tuskegee University. After President Alexander's death in November 2020, Roland Vaughn moved from Chamber Vice President to President. During the first days of his administration, he recreated a board governance structure comprised of almost 30 leaders with positions of influence in the community. The first project under President Vaughn was themed Rising the Bar and was an event-driven concept intended to promote local businesses to Chamber members and the community at large. So that is just a brief of the history that we were able to gather. Like I stated, it's based on the memories of some of our individuals in the community. And should you remember anything, I have my email and my phone number, and also Ms. Hopkins' email at the end of the presentation. And if you can think of anything that you remember as being historic for the Chamber, please share that information with us, and we will make sure that we put it in our collective history. So once again, our collective history is very vital to preserve, and it's going to provide wisdom for us today, and then also for our future generations. So the first thing that we can start doing is gathering documents. Like I stated, me and Ms. Hopkins, she worked very, very diligently on collecting and gathering the information that I just shared with you all. And so we need to start by seeing what type of documents are out there. We need to, get on the internet and Google and, try to find out what type of information is out there on the internet. Also get with the Tuskegee News and see what information that they have in their historic files. When we gather in documents, we have to make sure that we have storage for them. The storage should be in file cabinets, banker boxes, photo albums to house them. Also, during this day and age of us being on these Zoom calls, recording our meetings on virtual platforms like Zoom will allow us to create a digital recording of our meetings, okay? And we also want to make sure that we turn on the closed captioning on it, because we want to make sure that as we're preserving our history, that we have the videos that are going to be accessible to individuals who have all abilities. Another great thing to do with maintaining our history is making sure that we are printing essential emails that documents any type of organizational changes, any type of new policies and procedures that we may have, because we don't write letters like we used to, so we need to print out our emails, and that's going to provide a great representation of our 21st century communication. So what is my role as a board member? So when we think of our roles as board members, I like to think of these particular topics that are listed on this page. Thinking about the mission. How are we going to be incorporated with planning, community engagement, generating funds, performance, and also accountability. So the board will leverage community support as needed to promote and advance the Chamber's work and remember the Chamber's mission, because everything that we do should be around the Chamber's mission. If it's not, then we need to come back and try to figure out how we can incorporate it, or if not, we need to partner with someone else who might be able to take care of that. So everything should be around the mission of the Chamber. Additionally, the board will work with the executive director. The board is the supervisor for the executive director. And the board is going to make sure that the executive director is carrying out the operational needs of the Chamber and also providing the support that is needed. Board members should also generally communicate with the executive director with concerns about staff and other organizational business. The board oversees information and policies that apply to employees generally, such as personnel policies and procedures, wage comparability studies, and also organizational-wide salary scales. The board also should work with the executive director to establish a communication policy or plan for disseminating information to the stakeholders, to the members of the Chamber itself, and also to the general public at large. The board also should devote significant attention to strategic planning and also unforeseen external factors and also risk management activities. Right now, we see in this day and age, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. So we really have to try to identify these things, you know, in the future and try to figure out ways to mitigate our risk. The board also ensures that the CEO is executing the strategies and also building a leadership team for the future. So again, what is my role as a board member? One of the board's primary functions is to oversee the accountability and controls and sustainability of the Chamber itself. The board oversees program performance by reviewing its goals that it has set in comparison to the progress that is made in meeting those goals. Also developing and sustaining strategic partnerships and collaborations by working with groups who are serving to determine what are best ways that we can improve the lives individually and collaboratively for the citizens and the residents of Macon County. The board also oversees major legal and risk contingencies as well as the succession planning process. The board formulates key policies and strategic goals, focusing on near-term and longer-term challenges and opportunities, as well as making sure that we are adhering to the mission of the Chamber. So as a board of directors member for the Chamber, there are certain responsibilities that each of you have in order to make sure that things run morally and ethically. Okay, so if we look, some of these ethical responsibilities are the duty of care, the duty of loyalty, the duty of good faith, and the duty of compliance. So the duty of care states that you must exercise care in making decisions based on, you know, adequate information, and also in good faith that your decisions are in the best interest of the Chamber and also its stakeholders, to include the citizens of Macon County. Also, the duty of loyalty is a standard of faithfulness. It says that a board member must give undivided allegiance to the Chamber and its mission when making decisions that are going to affect it. So that means that a board member can never use information that's obtained as a board member for personal gain or, you know, self-dealing, but they must act in the best interest of the Chamber. Also, board members should not disclose and avoid any type of conflicts of interest and recuse themselves from any decisions that might that might result in any type of personal benefit. The duty of good faith insists that after board members have explored all the options for a particular business decision, they must make the one that they believe is in the best interest of the stakeholders and the community. Members also have a duty to be faithful to the organization's mission. Once again, you're going to hear mission like all through this, because the mission is the foundation that businesses are built on, and this chamber is built on. We have to follow the chamber's bylaws and any other governing documents, as well as the laws that are related to the organization, which will fall up under the duty of compliance. So there are some key considerations when it comes to maintaining ethical duties. And if there are a lot, but some that I would like to point out are do your due diligence. So diligence is key when we're evaluating significant deals or contracts or new hires or investors or business relationships. We have to do our due diligence. Also, the chamber should hold regularly scheduled board meetings at which information is provided regarding business and other relevant inputs for decisions that are going to be facing the board. We should also have a thorough and thoughtful board decision-making process for any type of significant transactions they may come to the table. And the board minutes, they kind of don't always include the nitty-gritty of all the board decisions, but the minutes should at least include a description that demonstrates the extent of the information that was provided and presented to the board, and also the board's analysis and the decision for the record. Also, another thing that we can do is retain outside counsel and other advisors when appropriate to advise the chamber on financing transactions, acquisitions, strategic alternatives, and corporate governance. Because oftentimes we don't know everything. So it's always best to make sure that we get some feedback from some outside entities to share some of their best practices with us. And then we can, figure out if that's what we want to go towards and see how we can incorporate that and make the chamber a better entity. Also, the use of committees to gather the most qualified board members to handle specific areas of oversight. That's the purpose of the committees, is to handle specifics. The committee should report to the full board, and then the board will be able to make any type of actions based on the committee's recommendations. Also, another key point in maintaining ethical duties would be to make sure that we don't get involved in transactions that's going to harm the organization, and make sure that we don't make decisions that's based on our own personal gain. We have to represent the chamber at all times. Also, making sure that we keep strategic planning discussions and other sensitive matters of the chamber confidential. We have to keep those things confidential until they are ready to be broadcast to the public. So, conflict of interest. So often people are unaware that sometimes their activities or personal interests are in conflict with the best interests of an organization or with the chamber. So a goal is to raise awareness, encourage disclosure, and discussion about anything that may be in conflict. So that is creating a culture of candor. That's what I was always taught. It's like a culture of candor. So you know me, according to the IRS, a conflict of interest occurs when individuals' obligations to further the organization's charitable purposes are at odds with their own financial interest. Okay, so these individuals are referred to as insiders, and the insiders often include our officers, our directors, our managers, any key employees, and any other person of authority who may stand to benefit financially, directly or indirectly, from decisions that are made when they're in such a capacity. So examples of conflicts of interest include contracting with an insider, accepting gifts, gratuities or favors from third parties that do business with the chamber, and also use of property, gratuitous use of property, And also anytime we try to seek preferential treatment. So again, with our duties, it's the duty of loyalty that is the foundation for concerns about conflict of interest, identification, and the management of it. So avoiding potential conflict of interest. So many boards dedicate one board meeting per year to discussing conflicts of interest that may have arisen. Some boards, they don't treat the policies as a one and done. Instead, they revisit their conflict of interest policy and tweak as necessary, because as times move on, things change. And so as things change, then we have to change. And so if something that needs to be added or deleted out of the conflict of interest policy, then we have to revisit that at that particular time. Some boards also develop a standard questionnaire that board members can fill out to disclose any conflicts that they may have. They kind of do that at least sometimes semi-annually, or they do it annually. Some boards also do training sessions where they discuss hypothetical situations and how the board will handle it. Once again, the conflict of interest policy is really, really key. And it's intended to establish the procedures. I'm real big on policies and procedures because I want to see it in writing. And so that conflict of interest policy is intended to establish those procedures, which, the individuals who have conflicts can be excused from voting on such matters that they may have a conflict with. Every board should have a conflict of interest policy, and it needs to be detailed. And understood by all members, and also signed and dated by all members. Also, any conflict of interest should be discussed at the beginning of meetings, not during or at the end. It needs to be kind of talked about and explained a little bit in the beginning of the meeting. And once again, we all know that having our board meeting minutes are very important. And so we have to make sure that in the board meeting minutes, in the instance that there is a conflict of interest, that the minutes reflect it. It reflects the conflict of interest discussion, including any type of training sessions that we have, any type of group discussions, or any documentation that a board member might disclose as a conflict. Also, the minutes should also reflect when a board member has to abstain from voting, or any other type of involvement due to a conflict of interest. So once again, some of the key elements to avoiding the potential conflicts of interest is having our annual meeting, having questionnaires, definitely our conflict of interest policy, and actually reflecting it in our board meeting minutes. So Robert's Rule of Orders. So Robert's Rule of Order is a book, and it contains rules of order intended to be adopted as a parliamentary authority for use by an assembly, which was written in 1876 by General Henry M. Robert. So Robert Rules states that good bylaws give a clear picture of the way. I see Ms. Harrington has her Robert's Rule of Orders book. She is showing us, yes. It gives us a clear picture of the way in which an individual member, in which individual members relate to the structure of the organization. Once again, it provides common rules and procedures for deliberation and debate in order to place the whole membership on the same page and speak in the same language. We're walking the walk, and we're talking the talk, and we're walking and talking together. And it also provides for constructive and democratic meetings to help and not to hinder the business of the assembly. So we would like to use these rules in order to provide order and structure, once again, to meetings, so that the business can be conducted and issues can be resolved in an orderly fashion. Once again, Robert's Rules of Order is one tool that we can use. However, your bylaws is what governs it as well. So we can use Robert Rules of Orders, but we have to understand that our bylaws is what is going to govern the way the structure of the organization works. So, according to Robert Rules of Orders, there are some basic principles of parliamentary procedure. We're just going to kind of go high level here. One thing is all members have equal rights, privileges, and obligations. A quorum must be present for the group to act. And for some people who may not know, I know all y'all do know, but if someone does not know what a quorum is the number of members who must be present to legally transact business, and is usually stated in the bylaws. The bylaws tell you how many people that a entity needs in order to establish that quorum, okay? In a committee or a small board, the quorum is the majority of its members. The purpose of the quorum is to prevent an unrepresentative group from taking action in the name of the chamber. Another basic principle of parliamentary procedure is full and free discussion of every motion is a basic right. Only one question at a time may be considered, and only one person may have the floor at a time. The presiding officer must rule on all personal remarks that are considered to be out of order. Any type of debate must be directed to the motions and not to motives, principles, and not to personalities. And the chair should remain impartial. The minority does have the right to be heard, but once a decision has been reached by the majority of the members that are present and voting, the minority must then respect and abide by that decision. A 2/3 vote is necessary whenever you are limited or taking away the rights of members, or whenever you are changing something that has already been decided on. And also remember, silence gives consent. So when we are voting, please vote. Silence gives consent. So those members who do not vote agree to go along with the decision of the majority by them remaining silent. Okay? So if it's something that is hard pressed, please make sure you raise your hand and vote so we can count that. Once again, meeting minutes are still taken, kept, and maintained in the event that the chamber has to meet by telephone or virtually. Some people think, we're not meeting in person, we're just on the phone. We still have to take those meeting minutes so we can document what went on in the particular meeting. So motions. So some people may not know what motions are. So a motion is a formal proposal by a member suggesting that the assembly take a certain action. There are 5 common types of classifications for motions. There are main motions. A main motion brings business before the chamber for consideration, debate, and to be voted on. Example of a main motion would be to approve a strategic plan or a operating budget. That's an example. A subsidiary motion is made when something needs to be modified or it affects other motions, usually the main motion, in some type of way. Example of a subsidiary motion would be to make a motion to table or postpone the approval of the strategic plan due to an overcrowded agenda. So many things on the agenda, so we're going to do a subsidiary motion to come back and revisit. Another one would be a privilege motion. A privilege motion is used to protect the rights, the welfare, and the privileges of board members during a meeting. Example of a privilege motion would be to make a motion to adjourn or to take a recess. Incidental motions. Incidental motions deal with questions of procedure arising out of other motions or business. These particular motions are ones that have to be disposed of immediately. So an example of an incidental motion would be to make a motion to request further information on the strategic plan before we actually voted on it. Then you have a bring back motion or a renewal motion. These motions are used to bring back to the floor a motion that has previously been disposed of. And once an example of that would be to make a motion to reconsider a previous motion that has already been voted on. So motions should be worded carefully to ensure that the language says exactly what it is intended to say. It can be drafted in advance. Say for instance, if a discussion was already had prior to a meeting or when a matter is complex. So we can draft that motion, prior to the actual meeting. Verbal motions arising during the meeting should be repeated by the president to ensure they are captured accurately. How I like to do my motions, I like to have my motions already on my agenda so I don't forget it, what I need to be voted on first, but to also make sure that it's laid out and it's smooth. Sometimes we do have verbal motions, and when we have those verbal motions, we have to make sure we repeat them to make sure we are capturing exactly what the motion is. So what happens to motions? So motions receive a second from a different member, which shows that the idea that was put forth has value and would be considered and debated. Once the motion has been stated and receives a second, it is discussed and debated. Sometimes it has to be restated, revised, or tweaked before it is ready to be voted on. So what happens to motions? They can be voted on, they can be amended, they can be substituted, they can be postponed, they can be referred to a committee, they can be withdrawn, or they can be rescinded. So the secretary should carefully record the precise language of the motion, so there's no room for error or misinterpretation, the precise language of the motion, and any other type of variations they may come up during the discussion before the vote. And then also record the number of votes for and against, and whether or not the motion passed or failed. Once again, motions that are on like complex issues should be prepared ahead of time and also included with the agenda. So some general rules of debate, according to Robert's Rule of Orders, are to separate perception from fact. That every member of the assembly, once again, has the right to speak on every debatable motion before it is acted upon. All decisions must be confined to the immediate pending question and to whether or not it should be adopted. While debate is in progress, amendments and other secondary motions can be introduced and disposed of accordingly. If there is not a special rule relating to the length of speeches in our bylaws, then the rule of thumb is that a member can speak no longer than 10 minutes unless he or she obtains the consent of the chamber. And this permission can be given by unanimous consent or by means of a motion to extend the debate. So the bylaws should say how long a person, can have the floor for speeches. If not, then that rule of thumb, according to Robert, is no longer than 10 minutes. Also, during debate, no member can attack or question the motives of another member. That is some of the general rules of debate as far as Robert is concerned. He said we have to be recognized by the chairperson. We can only speak to the motion that is on the floor, one at a time. We can't use inflammatory language or make personal attacks. We keep all remarks addressed to the chairperson, and also remember that not all motions are debatable. So, according to Robert's Rule of Orders, in meetings where some controversial issues are debated, some members may get a little excited or unruly, so to speak, and they may have to be reminded about the proper rules of debate. I just actually saw this on CNN. They was debating and they had to remind them, hey, one person has the floor, we got to come back. And also, if things escalate or get seriously out of hand, the board can impose some penalties for misbehavior. So the possible motions that can be made for this in this particular instance, a motion can be made that a member must apologize. That's kind of the easiest one to do. A motion can be made that the member must leave during the remaining of the meeting if they just get too excited. A motion can be made to censor the member. A motion can be made to suspend the member's rights for a time frame. And also a motion can be made to expel the member from the board. So members can be censored for misconduct at meetings, so, like violating confidentiality, they can be censored, moral misconduct outside of the meeting, absenteeism, bribery, fraud, lying, disloyalty, working against the chamber, conspiracy, and any other type of values that the chamber holds. So there can be penalties to getting a little out of hand when it comes to meetings, and also our conduct and our character when we're out in the public. So let's go to some virtual meeting netiquette. So according to Robert's Rules of Order, for telephone, electronic, or virtual meetings to be used, it must be established and authorized in the bylaws. I just recently had to update my bylaws at my agency because it only said that we could have telephone meetings once a year. We know that is not going to work in this day and age right here. We're having all our telephonic meetings and virtual meetings like every day now. So we had to go back and revisit those bylaws. So we need to make sure that our bylaws state that we are able to use the telephone, electronic means, and virtual means in order to conduct business. Virtual meetings like Zoom, they offer two different options to its users. They have meetings and they have webinars. So the meetings are ideally designed to conduct a collaborative event where every participant will be able to share audio, video, and their screen. But on the other hand, only the host can share their video and audio when it comes to a webinar, okay? So meetings are a collaborative session, but a webinar is a view-only session for its attendees. You'll still have access to the chat function, but you will not be able to share your screen or use your audio or video until the host allows you to do so. So the following are some tips and best practices when it comes to using virtual meeting platforms for meetings. So remember, we have to encourage that our cameras are to be on. I understand we're doing multiple things. However, we have to kind of treat our virtual meetings just like we're coming into a brick and mortar building to conduct business. Also, we have to show up on time for the meetings. Same thing as if we was going to a physical location. Please make sure you test your equipment that you are going to use prior to joining the meeting. I've been on meetings where it takes a while, 20, 30 minutes, to get people on because their equipment may not be working properly. So we have to make sure that we come on 15 minutes earlier or so on to make sure that everything is working and functioning properly so we don't hold up the meeting and the meeting goes as smooth as possible. Make sure you silence your phone and your computer while you are on the meeting. You know, we have some cool ringtones nowadays, and so we can't be, you know, having our, the baby and all those good rappers and good people playing during our, with our ringtone, with our phones ringing. So we have to make sure that we silence those. Remember, when your camera is on, everyone on the call can see your background behind you. So don't have anything around you that you don't want anyone to see. I've seen some crazy stuff. So let's make sure our areas are clean and we don't have anything behind us that we don't want anyone to see. Also try to call from a quiet location. Public places are kind of loud. I see people, they'll be like at Starbucks and different places like that. So let's make sure, just try to call from a quiet location. Make sure you mute your phone or your tablet and so on. So, we don't hear any background noise, that could be viewed as distracting. Also, if you're happen to be on a call while you're driving, please make sure you mute yourself and make sure you keep your eyes on the road, keep your eyes in front of you, and drive responsibly while we're conducting that type of business. Don't sit in the dark. It's kind of a deciding factor on whether people can see you. Oftentimes I'm on meetings and it's just dark. Like you might as well not even have your camera on, just cut it off because you can't even see the person or you'll see a silhouette. Just try not to sit in the dark. If so, then you can cut your camera off if that's the case. Get dressed as if you was going to a physical meeting. You know, it could be a chance you might have to stand up and get something from over on the other side of the desk, and you might not have on the appropriate attire. And remember, your camera is on and everybody can see you. And when you get up, well, you all know the rest. they see everything. Also, when questions come up, let's make sure we use the chat function. And then the presenter or the meeting host, they'll be able to answer those questions at their convenience, because the questions will be viewable to everyone. So you all will be able to chat, you know, back and forth. So we try not to be disruptive and we use the chat feature. Make sure that you are aware and be aware of sending messages to other people during the online meeting, because your comment may accidentally go to the wrong person or end up in the transcript, which could damage the relationships. So you have to, so just kind of be aware of sending messages in that chat box, because I've seen it where people hit that everyone and they talking a bunch of stuff and everybody can see it. And you know, you can save that chat box too. So let's make sure we're being very nice when we're using those chat features. Also, if you're sharing your screen, make sure that only the intended content is seen. So before you launch your video conference, close all the unnecessary tabs from the browser and any other apps that you were working on, because when you're sharing your full screen, you may accidentally make a mistake and click that one thing that you were looking at that you will be embarrassed if someone else would have seen. So make sure you launch a fresh browser window and be prepared at time and hide any other sensitive activity that you may have on your computer. Please stay awake and focused. I was just on a call like 2 weeks ago, and one of the HR directors in another state was asleep. She was knocked out, and the presenter kept calling her name and calling her name and calling her name to present, and she wasn't saying anything. And she finally came to, and she couldn't even do her report because she didn't even know where we were. So I'm quite sure that was very embarrassing for her, especially being a member of the leadership team. So please try to stay awake as much as possible.
Did she get paid? Did she get paid for the presentation?
No, she wasn't getting paid for the presentation. Not at that time. She might have if she was awake. We don't know. So let's make sure we stay awake, guys. Also, limit the use of virtual backgrounds. We have all these nice virtual backgrounds with water and the sea and the ocean and, you know, pictures of our kids and all of these things. You know, they may be cute and funny to us, but they could be offensive to others. So we can have our logos on the back, you know, our different corresponding businesses, things like that of that nature, but try to limit the use of, you know, the funny ones, because we don't want to be offensive to anyone. Also, when you want to speak, use the raise hand feature if you need to speak. And then make sure, once again, that everybody is on mute when you are not speaking. Make sure you close completely out of the webinar when it is completely done, because we have seen people get in trouble because they are talking, you know, commenting badly about things that have gone on, and they was not closed all the way out of their meeting, or they were not on mute. So we don't want to have those instances. So please, let's make sure that we close completely out. Sometimes I just cut my computer all the way off just to make sure. So make sure we're on mute and close completely out. Also, there's nothing wrong with, drinking some water or some coffee during the meeting. If you need something to snack on, something light, like some nuts or some crackers. I mean, I was on another meeting. I mean, they had like a whole rib plate right there in front of them. And I mean, they like holding the ribs. I'm talking about getting down. Barbecue sauce everywhere. I was on another meeting. They was drinking beer. They didn't even have it in a cup. You just got you a nice bottle of beer. I'm like, come on, we cannot do that, because once again, we have to be professional, and that is not good business. And also, it looks like we're going to be doing this video conferencing thing for a little while longer. So I really hope you take some of these considerations, some of these steps and tips into consideration as we keep doing this, making this our new norm, so to speak. So this is the end of my presentation, and I want to thank each of you for participating and being engaged in the presentation. I hope that you had some takeaways from the topics that were discussed. You'll see right here, this is my phone number, that's my cell phone number, and my email address. So if any of you need me for anything, please do not hesitate to call me. I also put Miss Hopkins' email address right there, because remember previously I said if anybody had any good tidbits that we can add to our history portion, please email those that information to her, and so we can make sure that we get that documented. Okay. So does anyone have any questions or any feedback that they would like to share at this time?
Yes.
I put a
Andrew?
couple of questions in the chat box. I don't know who's monitoring.
Angel?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to commend you for an excellent presentation. Very well done, and be a lot of help to our chamber. So congratulations, thank you, and we appreciate the quality of your work.
Thank you so much.
And Angel, if I might present to you Dr. Harrington's question. The first one was, she's asking someone to clarify the use of and time for the title, Tuskegee Area Chamber of Commerce. She has also asked if the slides in your presentations will be available in hard copies. I can answer that second question. Yes, we will share the slides with anyone who wants them, as well as the link to this Zoom session. So Angel, I'm not sure that you're best suited to answer the first question about the use of and time for the title of our organization. Is there someone here who feels comfortable addressing that question?
I can take that question, Karen.
Oh, please do so.
Okay. In the quest to expand the footprint of the chamber, at one point it was a Macon County Chamber, and it was in our administration that we did some research. And as you know, market research is very important in the business world. And we ran two surveys, one with the NOMA, the Macon County Chamber, and the other one with the Tuskegee Area of Chamber of Commerce. And the results were that the market recognition and value of a NOMA came back with Tuskegee Area, had more of an impact in the business world than, say, quote, Macon County Chamber. And that was the basis of our then deciding that there would be significant language to explain what area means. Area is everybody else in the Tuskegee area, market area, were very much welcome to be a part of the Tuskegee Chamber, but it was a matter that Tuskegee had tremendous market value as a NOMA. And so that's why we made that particular decision.
Let me follow up on that too, is that the chamber is not often in public known and our members are not known. And Karen and our events coordinator council have, they've got a series of events. So it is very appropriate for any member of the chamber as they attend these, whether it be Cinco de Mayo or whether it be Raise the Bar or going to any of the other events, the cheesecake folks up or the smoothie people, be sure that you let everybody know that you are a member of the chamber and that, our job is to try to promote businesses. So if you're there, project yourself as a member and, let them know. Everybody that starts a business is taking a risk. And it reflects hope in our community, and let them know how much we appreciate they are taking those risks. Sometimes it's only 2 or 3 employees. In the case of Raising the Bar, I would say that Vaughn probably has 10 or 12 employees in that one business, and he has 2 other businesses that have a like number. Jeff Potter and the 24-hour service center will be over 100 workers in that location. So just let people know that you're a member and project our goals and our mission, and that is to promote business. Any other question? Michael, it's good to have you here. And we have a mechanical engineer. We're going to lure back to Tuskegee at some time to hang his shingle here.
Angel, you said that you advise as part of the virtual meeting etiquette that people use the raise your hand feature. Even though I'm sure all of us are familiar with that tool, could you tell people where they can locate that so they can comply?
Okay, so if you go down to your toolbar down at the very bottom, you will see where it says participants, chat, share screen, record, and reactions. When you click on reactions, another box is going to pop up and you'll see where it says raise hand. And so you see my hand is raised. Now, you have to remember to take the hand down after you finish with your question. So you raise your hand, and after you are acknowledged and you're done, then you'll see where it says lower hand, and you can lower your hand.
I didn't see your hand.
Pardon?
I didn't see your hand, Angel.
You see it now?
Yes, in the other side, your right side. And it's a golden hand.
Mm-hmm. It's gold for money.
We'd like to thank you, Angel, for conducting the meeting today. This is one of 2 training sessions for the board. Our next session will be on May the 17th, and it will, many of you in this community remember the Gaylord family, and Sharon Rose will be will be conducting that meeting along with Patsy Guy of the Montgomery Chamber and one other representative that is doing a exceptional job with membership growth. And so our next meeting will be again virtual, and it will be board training again, and it will deal with the steps of how their contract works with the city and the county in Montgomery County. It will also deal with recruitment of membership and the contract that they signed with the city of Montgomery and with the county. So we look forward to everybody attending that. If you could, how many of you have signed in chat room and at least put their name there so we have you in attendance? If you haven't, please do that so that Karen has a full membership or board member attendance list.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to say thank you to Ms. Walker for a very informative session. You know, what the kind of information she gave is not just good for a chamber. It is good for any well-run organization, including the church. Thank you.
Ms. Walker and President Vaughn, Jared Clay had his hand raised, and may I ask that you allow Dr. Harrington to make an announcement, and then I'd also like to make an announcement before we close, please.
Was Jared supposed to make an announcement first?
No, sir. I was just practicing that new tool I was
Okay.
brought to my attention. I apologize for that. Y'all continue.
Dr. Harrington?
Yes, I wanted to make an announcement regarding the annual Carver Festival. Normally, it would be this coming weekend or the next weekend. However, of course, due to the pandemic and COVID-19 effects, the board of directors has tentatively rescheduled the annual Carver Festival for May 2022. In other words, we will not have a Carver Festival in 21, and hopefully we'll be able to get back into the streets in 2022. Thank you.
And I'd like to invite everyone or remind everyone, I hope that you've gotten your email notices about the celebration of the 1-year anniversary of the Tuskegee House of Meats, which will be this week, this coming Thursday. It will begin at 3 o'clock in the 400 block of East Martin Luther King Highway. This is a young man, Vaughn Tarver, who has been a member of the chamber consistently. He's one of our more successful business owners, and I'd like for the chamber to have a good representation at his 1-year anniversary celebration.
And also, one thing that Karen pointed out that had slipped many of our minds was that what month, Karen, is the 50th anniversary of our founding?
That is true. The chamber was founded in June of 1971. The first president was Charles Cliff Johnson, who Ms. Walker pointed out was the first Black person in this nation to have a Cadillac dealership. So yes, this is the 50th anniversary of the chamber's establishment.
Well, very good. We appreciate everybody's attention and attendance. I think there were close to 20 of our members in attendance, but please sign in under the chat room before you sign off. And again, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the meeting be adjourned.
So moved, and so we will
Got a second?
adjourn it this time. Thank you. Angel, thank you so much.
Roland, who seconded that motion?
Yeah, we need a second.
Adjournment does not.
Does not
There
require,
need one, right? But
Oh.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
adjournment does not require a second.
No.
Thank you. Good night.
Everyone have a good evening. Excellent presentation. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Good night. All.
Very good, Angel.
Thank you.